Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare US 1-cent coins. These small pennies have big value, with some worth thousands or even millions of dollars. Stay tuned to find out which 4 pennies made our list and how much they're worth today. First up, the 1961 D Lincoln cent was produced at the Denver Mint, which struck over 1.7 billion pennies that year. Made primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, this coin features the iconic design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, created by Victor David Brenner. The reverse bears the familiar wheat ears, a design that had been in use since 1909 before transitioning to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. The change in design reflected a shift in artistic direction for U.S. coinage, aiming to modernize the look while honoring the legacy of Lincoln's contributions to American history. Despite the large mintage, certain 1961 D Lincoln cents have become quite valuable over time. The primary reason behind this lies in their condition and specific minting anomalies. Coins that have remained in uncirculated condition, particularly those with a strong red hue, are highly sought after by collectors. In coin grading, a red designation, RD, means the coin has retained much of its original copper shine, making it far more valuable than those that have dulled to brown, BN, or even red-brown, RB, over time. While most circulated 1961 D pennies hold only their face value of 1 cent, high-grade uncirculated specimens can be worth significantly more. A well-preserved, uncirculated example with a high-grade certification from organizations like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, can fetch anywhere from a few dollars to over $50. However, extremely rare specimens that have achieved mint state MS grades of 66 or higher can command values in the hundreds of dollars at auctions. Some collectors seek out full red examples with high eye appeal, which can drive prices even higher. One of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is searching for rare mint errors, and the 1961 D Lincoln cent is no exception. Certain error coins from this mintage year can be worth significantly more than their standard counterparts. Some of the most notable errors include the doubled die obverse, DDO, which occurs when the coin's design is stamped more than once slightly out of alignment. This results in noticeable doubling of the date and lettering, making it a standout error for collectors. Other valuable errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and repunched mint marks, where the D mint mark was stamped more than once, causing a shadowing or overlapping effect. Another unique characteristic of 1961 D pennies is their toning. Some coins, due to environmental exposure, develop colorful toning, with hues of blue, purple, and gold appearing on the surface. While toning itself is a natural oxidation process, beautifully toned coins can be highly desirable, especially if the toning enhances the coin's overall eye appeal without significantly reducing its detail. Collectors often seek out such coins, and prices for toned examples can be much higher than for those with typical brown or dull finishes. For collectors looking to build a complete Lincoln cent collection, the 1961 D penny serves as a staple. While it may not be as rare as key dates like the 1909 DVD or the 1955 double die, its affordability and accessibility make it an excellent coin for new and seasoned numismatists alike. Some collectors enjoy putting together a complete set of Lincoln Memorial cents spanning from 1959 to 2008, while others seek out specific years with unique characteristics, such as high mint date grades, varieties, or errors. Searching for a valuable 1961 D Lincoln cent can be a fun and rewarding experience. Many collectors check old coin rolls from banks, search through inherited coin collections, or carefully inspect pocket change in the hopes of finding a high-grade specimen. While the majority of 1961 D pennies are common, the potential for finding a gem uncirculated example or an exciting mint error makes it worth the hunt. Beyond its monetary value, the 1961 D Lincoln cent represents a period in U.S. history when the country was on the brink of significant changes. The early 1960s were a time of social transformation, technological advancement, and global competition as America found itself in the midst of the Cold War and preparing for space exploration. Coins from this era serve as tangible pieces of history, connecting collectors to a past era through the artistry and craftsmanship of their designs. Next up, the 1992 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint and is part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial series, which spanned from 1959 to 2008. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin features a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln. The reverse showcases the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, in honor of the 16th President of the United States. The D mint mark below the date signifies that the coin was produced in Denver. In terms of mintage, the 1992 penny was produced in massive quantities, with over 4.4 billion coins struck. As a result, it is one of the more common Lincoln cents and can still be found in circulation today. The composition of the 1992 cent consists of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, a change that occurred in 1982 when the US Mint transitioned from solid copper coins to a copper-plated zinc core to reduce production costs. Although the 1992 Lincoln cents is generally not considered rare, certain varieties and errors can significantly increase its value. One of the most famous varieties is the 1992 close AM variety. Typically, on the reverse of Lincoln memorial cents from this period, the letters A and M in AM, America, are spaced apart. However, some 1992 pennies were mistakenly struck using a reverse design intended for proof coins, where the letters A and M are very close together. This rare, close M variety is highly sought after by collectors and can sell for thousands of dollars depending on condition. Other valuable errors include doubled die varieties, re-punched mint marks, and off-center strikes. A well-defined double die error can result in a significant premium, while off-center strikes, especially those missing large portions of the design, can also command high prices. Coins struck on defective or clipped planchettes may also be of interest to error collectors. The value of a standard 1992 Lincoln cent depends largely on its condition. Circulated examples typically hold little to no additional value beyond face value. However, uncirculated examples, particularly those graded mint state MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC, can sell for a few dollars. The highest grade specimens with full red luster, designated as RD, can be worth significantly more. Meanwhile, the close AM variety in high-grade condition can fetch anywhere from $3,000 to over $20,000 at auctions. For those interested in searching for valuable 1992 Lincoln cents, the best approach is to inspect rolls of pennies from banks, estate sales, or coin collections. Using a magnifying glass or coin loop can help spot minor details like the close AM variety or mint errors that might otherwise go unnoticed. Beyond its monetary value, the 1992 Lincoln cent represents a piece of American history. It was struck during a time of political and economic change in the United States, marking the final years of the Lincoln Memorial, reverse before the transition to the Lincoln Bicentennial and Shield designs. Next up, the 1981 Lincoln cent was struck at 3 U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark for proof coins. The obverse of the coin features the classic right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is prominently displayed, designed by Frank Gasparo in honor of the 16th President of the United States. A significant detail about the 1981 penny is its composition. This was the last full year that Lincoln cents were produced, with a 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin alloy. In 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned to a copper-plated zinc composition to reduce production costs. Because of this, the 1981 penny is often sought after by collectors who prefer the original copper cents. In terms of mintage, over 13 billion Lincoln cents were struck in 1981, making it one of the most abundant years for the series. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 7.4 billion, the Denver Mint struck around 5.3 billion, and the San Francisco Mint created over 4 million proof coins. Despite these high numbers, finding a high-grade uncirculated example can still be challenging. The 1981 Lincoln cent is not particularly rare in circulated condition, but there are several varieties and errors that can significantly increase its value. One of the most well-known varieties is the 1981 S Type 1 and Type 2 proof cents. The difference between these types lies in the mint mark style. Type 1 has a more rounded S, while Type 2 features a clearer, more refined S. Type 2 is significantly rarer and is highly valued among collectors. Other valuable errors include doubled die obverse, DDO varieties, which show noticeable doubling in the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, and repunched mint marks, RPMs, can also be found among 1981 Lincoln cents. These errors can dramatically increase the coin's value depending on their severity and clarity. The value of a standard 1,981 Lincoln cent depends largely on its condition. Circulated examples are generally worth only face value, while uncirculated examples, graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC, can sell for a few dollars. The highest quality, full red, RD specimens can fetch significantly more. The 1,981 proof penny, depending on grade, can range in value from $50 to over $1,000. For those interested in searching for valuable 1,981 Lincoln cents, checking bankrolls, estate sales, or inherited collections is a great strategy. Using a magnifying glass or coin loop can help spot minor details like doubled die errors or mint mark varieties that might otherwise go unnoticed. Beyond its monetary value, the 1,981 Lincoln cent represents the end of an era for copper-based pennies. With the transition to zinc in 1982, these coins hold historical significance for numismatists and coin enthusiasts alike. Next up, states. The end of the Vietnam War in 1973 marked a turning point in the nation's psyche and its global standing. Domestically, the economy was in a bit of a rough patch. The 1,970s saw rising inflation, and the value of the US dollar was starting to see some challenges, which would later lead to the famous stagflation that defined much of the decade. For the penny, this meant that the cost of producing the coin was becoming a more significant issue, even though it was still very much in circulation and used in everyday transactions. The economic backdrop of 1,973 would become part of the coin's history. The 1,973 penny was minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, just like its predecessors, and while it might seem like a small, insignificant coin today, it had an essential role in the US monetary system. The penny, or 1-cent coin, had been in circulation for over 60 years at the time, having been introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's centennial birth anniversary. The Lincoln design, created by artist Victor David Brenner, was so popular and impactful that it remained unchanged for decades, making it one of the longest-running designs for any coin in US history. Looking at the coin's physical details, the 1,973 penny features the same iconic obverse and reverse designs that collectors have come to recognize and appreciate. On the obverse, we have the image of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, facing to the right. The inscription, "In God We Trust," runs along the upper rim of the coin, and below Lincoln's bust is the date of the coin's minting, in this case 1973. The word liberty is also displayed to the left of Lincoln's profile, signifying the nation's commitment to liberty. Brenner's design of Lincoln has become one of the most famous images in American coinage. On the reverse, the penny features a wreath of wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent, with United States of America inscribed along the upper rim. This reverse design was created by engraver Frank Gasparo, who had succeeded Brenner at the US Mint. The use of wheat stalks on the reverse was a nod to the nation's agricultural history, symbolizing the importance of the country's farming industry. Interestingly, while the wheat design had been in circulation since 1909, it was only a few years later, in 1959, when the US Mint began phasing in a new design, the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, which would eventually replace the wheat stalks entirely by 1959. Still, in 1973, this classic wheatback design was still being used for the penny. The composition of the penny is also worth noting. In 1973, the penny was primarily made of copper, specifically 95% copper and 5% zinc. This made it slightly more valuable in terms of its metal content compared to the pennies minted in the following decades. By the 1980s, the rising cost of copper would lead the US Mint to reduce the amount of copper in the penny, switching to a composition of 97.5% zinc with only a thin copper coating. The copper composition of the 1973 penny adds an element of historical interest, particularly when compared to modern pennies, which are worth far less in terms of raw material. Now that we know about the historical and design aspects of the 1973 penny, it's important to dive into the coin's value. For the most part, the 1973 penny has not appreciated much in value. As with most modern coins, the penny is often regarded as little more than a piece of pocket change. In 2025, you'll likely find that a well-worn 1973 penny in average circulated condition will only be worth 1 cent, its face value. However, there are some exceptions to this rule, and certain 1973 pennies can be worth much more than that, depending on their condition, rarity, and even some unusual errors that might make them more desirable to collectors. One of the most important factors in determining the value of any coin is its condition. A well-worn 1,973 penny is likely to fetch only its face value, but if you come across a penny that is in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used in circulation and retains sharp, crisp details, then it could be worth a bit more. Uncirculated 1,973 pennies typically range in value from 10 to 30 cents, depending on the specific details of the coin and the demand from collectors. However, things get a little more interesting if you happen to find a 1,973 penny with a minting error. The US Mint occasionally makes mistakes during the production process, and these errors can make certain coins incredibly valuable. For example, if you find a 1,973 penny with a double die error, where the date or other inscriptions are double stamped, that penny could be worth several dollars or more, depending on the severity of the error and its condition. Similarly, coins that were struck with a misalignment of the dies, causing a distorted or off-center image, are also highly sought after by collectors. These types of errors are rare, but they can significantly increase the value of a coin. Depending on the specific error and the condition of the penny, a 1,973 penny with such a flaw could sell for anywhere from $5 to several $100s at auction. When it comes to collecting, the 1,973 penny can be an intriguing addition to a collection, especially if you're building a series of Lincoln cents. While this particular coin might not be as rare or valuable as other coins from the same period, it holds an important place in the history of American coinage. For those interested in completing their Lincoln cent collection, the 1,973 penny is a piece of the puzzle that should not be overlooked. Additionally, the 1,973 penny is an excellent example of the continuity in US coinage, as the Lincoln design was still in use and unchanged for over 60 years by this point. For some collectors, the thrill of finding a rare or valuable coin isn't necessarily tied to its monetary value. Many collectors enjoy the hunt, sifting through rolls of pennies, checking old jars of change, or scouring estate sales for hidden gems. The 1,973 penny may not always be the most exciting find, but it serves as a great reminder of the history behind US currency and the ongoing legacy of the Lincoln cent. Even in the face of technological advances in minting and changes in the economy, the penny remains an iconic part of American culture.